So the splines have been created, and I ended up here with um, uh, pieces of geometry that are actually constrained to each other. So what we have is that we have a series of planes that are referenced to the global coordinate system. I have a series of points that are referenced to the planes, depending on the planes, and the splines that are dependent on the points. So basically, if I double click on my top plane and I'm gonna try to move it, everything is moving accordingly. So cancel. Okay, so this is all support geometry for that model, and this is the geometry that is not going to be replicated. Uh, this is going to be the inputs for the PowerCopy. So now I have to create the geometry that is actually going to be instantiated. So I'm going to create a new geometrical set. And I'm going to hide the points. Just right click, hide show. So we don't really need the points, these points that we created anymore, visible. And now I'll need to create the intersection between this bottom plane and these splines, which is gonna be the same pretty much as the points that we have here, but it's just now we're telling software what it's gonna do with the PowerCopy. So I'm gonna create this 3 points on the intersection of this plane and my splines, and I'm gonna constrain my further geometry to these points. So what I do is click intersection, and first element will be my bottom plane, and for second element I click here for multi-select, and I just select my splines 1, 2, and 3. Hit preview. Here it creates 3 points on the intersection of the splines. Hit OK. Yeah, so now I have these points, and they're created here in this geometrical set 4. Okay, so now I need to create a sketch for my frame piece. So I'm gonna hit sketch, position sketch button in the type positioned, and the reference is gonna be this bottom plane. Type implicit, orientation implicit. Hit OK. Okay. So now I have my sketcher workbench window, and I need to create a double click on the line, and I'm gonna sketch some geometry, create some lines, and I snap them to each other. Okay, so basically the sketcher workbench, you just it lets you create the support 2D geometry for your 3D geometry. So what I'm gonna do here, if we take a look at this model, I'm gonna create the base sketch for this bottom piece. So I'm gonna go back, and now I'm gonna constrain my points and hit constrain define in dialog box, and I constrain this point to one of my intersection points here, and I put coincidence, and it placed this point, constrained the point from my sketch to the one of these intersection points. Hit OK. I do the same with the rest of the points of this triangle. Okay, so now I have a kind of a constrained sketch. I needed that just to place those points of the triangle on the intersection points. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and go to sketch, to constraints, and I'm gonna delete those constraints that I just created because I'm not gonna need them, and I'm gonna fillet the edges of my triangle. I'm gonna hit fillet button, and I'm gonna fillet them. I'm gonna delete this. You see, by default it creates the angular constraints and the dimensional constraints. So I'm gonna delete this angle constraint. I'm gonna create the rest of my fillets. On these edges, and I'm gonna delete the angular constraint. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to constrain the middle points of this fillet lines that I just created to the intersection point with my support geometry and splines. So I select this fillet, I select this point, intersection point, and I go to constrain definition and I hit midpoint. Hit OK. So now it placed the midpoint of this line on the intersection point. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the rest of them. I'm gonna select the geometry, constrain it, hit OK. Okay.